What is up, guys, and welcome back to another video. We are doing something definitely a little bit different on this round. We are at Copart and I just bought a flooded RZR side by side. These things are the hottest things since sliced bread right now, so we're out here doing something a little bit different, playing around, looking for something to play in the desert with. So we just won the bid. I'm gonna go in and do the paperwork. I thought this would be a cool video to document the process. If we're gonna see if we hit a home run or if we did a wash or if we made a mistake on this buy. I'm gonna document the process through and through. It is a pretty sick machine. I'm praying that we actually get lucky on this thing and we can get the engine running without having to do nothing too crazy. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the paperwork and I'm gonna get you guys document a little bit of the process of bringing it out, and we'll go over about what it is. All right, guys, so they just brought the RZR out from back of the yard. We're gonna get this thing home and see what we have to do to get it going. There it is. It is a 2020 RZR Velocity Turbo S with the dynamic suspension. Let's see, hopefully this thing's gonna fit up on here. That looks like it's gonna be good right there. All right, guys, we're gonna get this thing home and see what we gotta do. But first, I think we're gonna run it to the car wash, get this thing cleaned off. And here we are. Make sure we got all our parts sitting in the back of this thing. All right, we're gonna have to pull all this stuff out, get it loaded in the truck, and we're gonna go home, pull everything off, pull the plugs out of the engine, see if we get this thing turned over, drain all the fluids, and we're gonna go ahead and see what we gotta do. All right, guys, we got this thing loaded up, strapped down. I had to let some air out of the front tire just to get the strap over. Getting it in neutral is proven to be a little hard, so I think there's some computers and stuff unhooked. But here we are. We're gonna get this thing home and see what we got. Man, I want this thing to work so bad. It is a sick rig. I've never had a side-by-side before, but this is the one that I want. So we're gonna make this thing work. All right, guys, let's get this thing cleaned up. All right, guys, I don't know about you, but whenever I get a new toy or car or hot rod, the first thing and most satisfying thing I do is take it to the car wash and go ahead and give it a bath. So I'm gonna go ahead and get busy on that. I won't bore you with too much of it. But if I'm the only one, I don't think I'm the only one, but if that's you guys too, do you enjoy washing one of your new builds or fresh builds? Hit that like button or leave it in the comments. Let me know if anyone else is into that too. So I'm gonna get busy cleaning this thing up and we're gonna see how it turns out. All right, guys, here it is the next day. We got it cleaned and detailed at the car wash. I spent a couple hours and a little bit of elbow grease on this thing, getting it really clean. And we're gonna go through and assess what we have and what it's gonna take to get this thing running in tip-top shape. Like I said, I spent a couple hours. I got it cleaned up really good. That way we can assess it and see kind of like what all we need. I did notice we have a little bit more damage that I didn't notice because of how muddy everything was, caked in the mud. We also got some plastics that we have, like this rear fender, some kind of fender, and maybe like a flare. And we'll go through and show you what we found so far on it and see what it's gonna take to get this thing up and going. But it definitely cleaned up nice. I'm happy with how well everything cleaned up. The frame looks straight. No tweaks or bends in the frame, and that's the main thing. I really didn't want to buy one that I had to mess with the frame. I don't have all the equipment or special tools for anything like that. It does look like it has an aftermarket cage on it, which I'm pretty happy about that. We're gonna go through and see if we can get this engine running. I already did flush and drain the fluid, so I won't bore you with all that. So I did do that, and we're gonna go ahead and see what all parts we need to get ordered so we can start digging in on this this little project. Okay, guys, so what I did notice so far is I already when I was at Copart checking this thing out, I was really trying to go through and do my due diligence and kind of see if I can, you know, notice any red flags. I mean, it's Copart, there's a ton of red flags, so definitely risk involved. If you're going to be doing this, make sure you're okay with getting your hands dirty, or if not, at least learning what you need to do. So I went to go start it, and I did get everything to power on when it was at Copart. Oh, I have the battery unplugged. Let's see. So at Copart, I actually did get the guy to put the jump box on it. And I was able to get all the screens and the ride command to power on, so I can at least know that I didn't need to do that. So I got everything powered up. So I checked both screens, those were all good. But what I just got at home last night, and I realized, because remember, I'm still really green at RZRs. I've never owned one, I've never worked on one. I've had snowmobiles out in Minnesota, but that's about it. That's about as much knowledge as I have on these things. So I did notice that I am missing the ECU back here. Didn't plan for that, so that cost me about $500. I found one out of Florida. That one's being shipped out here, but the bad thing is they have a hurricane going on right now, so that's not helping the cause with shipping and all that. So I really can't move forward on the engine until I get that computer. But what I did do, like I said, I drained the fluids. The engine spins over by hand. I was able to get the starter and kind of jump it. I pulled it off of the relay down there and just jumped it directly, and it does turn over. I pulled the spark plugs off, drained the fluids, put new fluid in. I'm kind of flushing the whole thing. I'm gonna flush every single fluid. And when that computer gets here, I will know more, and we can see if we can get this thing started. So luckily for you guys, this is the internet, so I'm not gonna bore you. So as soon as it shows up, we can get to that part of the video. But overall assessments, I need a fender, I need a fog skin, vent cover, and I guess the Turbo S's have the bigger tall ones. And I possibly need the passenger side on the bed. I'm not sure if I can make all this work and just leave a little bit of gap right here, but if I find a good deal on the piece on the bed, I will go ahead and order that. So there's a local store out here called AZ Cycle here in Phoenix, Arizona. I think I'm gonna give them a call and see what parts I can track down. And I did, like I said, detailed this engine. I put the special sauce on this thing. I know the tricks for the cars. This thing definitely cleaned up really nice. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the purchase. I think we can get this thing going, and if that engine is good, we're in business. I mean, that is going to be awesome. So let's go ahead and follow this project, and I'll bring you guys along as we get this thing up and going and go see what the RZR scene's all about. Okay, so what I've done so far, before I even try to start this machine, I actually just got the intake back on. When I pulled off the throttle body, I could notice a little bit of water down in there, so I had to rip all the trunk off. I pulled the intercooler slash intake off. I definitely, I'm glad I did that. There was a lot of water stuck in there, so if I would have got this thing running, I probably would have sucked it in and hydrolocked the engine and caused damage. So I did not want to do that. So I'm thinking we can still save this engine. So I pulled the intake off. I got it drained and clean. I drained the transmission gear lube, flushed that out. I also flushed the engine. I grabbed some motor flush and seafoam. I did that twice so far. The oil is actually looking pretty clean now. So I'm still waiting on the computer. So when the computer shows up, we're gonna see if we can get this engine running. Like I said, it was missing the PCM or the ECU from the auction. Went ahead and ordered one. It's coming out of Florida. They have a hurricane going on right now, which isn't helping. But man, did we blow this thing apart. It is totally different looking right now. So we got it pretty much all prepped and ready. We're gonna see if we can actually get this thing started. I still have to drain the fluids in the front diff. All the electronics work, so the ride command's working, the cluster's working, the shocks all seem to be working. The only thing I noticed we are missing, the guy that had this before me, it looks like he stripped all the stuff off it before he went to the, before it actually went to the auction. So I am missing a 3-bar map sensor back here. Also, the clutches were kind of loose. I had to buy all new bolts for the clutch cover. I'm gonna probably go through that clutch, but I wanna see if I get this thing running first before I start doing all the odds and ends and all the small stuff. So we're gonna do the big things first. I'm gonna get the exhaust back on, and we are waiting for a computer. I'm gonna show you guys, let you see the update when we get that thing going. I am getting pretty excited though. I hope this engine turns out to be good. And the reason I decided to pull the bed off and everything, because if we end up having to pull this engine, which I hope we don't, at least everything's already off so the engine can come out pretty easy. It's not much left to get to the engine. It's pretty much right there. We'll unhook everything. Pulling off the intercooler was actually not too bad easy either. So got that back on. Now we are waiting for the fresh fluids to show up on Amazon. I'm gonna put new fluids in the transmission, the front diffs, and I've got good Polaris oil. So if we do get this thing running, I'm gonna do a couple more flushes with the cheap oil, let some stuff burn off on the inside, and then put the good oil in. So crossing my fingers, guys, that we're gonna get this thing going. I'll give you guys an update. This is gonna be kind of a long video, so this might be a two-part series or so. You guys let me know in the comments if this is entertaining or if you guys are interested in watching this. I might have to keep following this build, doing a kind of like a series video, but we are making some progress on this thing. We got some parts ordered, so we already got parts coming for the plastics. We've got the bed that was wrecked in there. We got all that order. I'll go over that more here in a bit. Okay guys, so I hit up AZ Cycle out here in Phoenix, Arizona, and I was able to get some of the trims and plastics. I could not find one in blue that matched, so I'm thinking, and of course I had to buy the set. I couldn't just buy one side. They make you buy the set. Probably a good business idea, but sucky for the customer. So I bought some gray ones. These ones were actually pretty cheap. I picked up a set of the gray ones for 129 bucks. I've got both fender flares. I got those for 90, and I'm gonna possibly try to paint the gray one to match the blue, or I might just go all black. I'm not sure yet, but at least we can get the plastics together, and at least I can use it for now until I find the right color or move on in the future. I got the fog skin vent covers for the Turbo S. It was able to get that. I only need one side, so maybe I can try to sell the other sides that I don't need, maybe recoup a little bit of the budget. We're gonna try to keep this thing as affordable as possible, just in case we have to get to the engine of that, but I don't wanna think about that yet. So, just a little update on the plastics. We're gonna go ahead and try to get these on and see how it turns out. All right, so this thing's looking a little bit different. We got the cage back on. We're already starting the assembly process. I've got some good news, guys. Definitely, also we splurged a little bit on a couple goodies for this thing. We're still in the process of painting this roll cage where it's got scrap. I'm gonna sand that down. I've been trying to find a color that matches. This is actually a Ford blue color, and it's just not quite good enough. So I'm gonna go ahead and find a better color before I move forward on that. We got the trunk bed replaced. We're doing a little bit more flushing. This is the third oil change now, so it's actually getting a lot cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. I'm doing this just to be safe. And we got the computer in, guys, and we're gonna fire this thing up. So basically what happened is I got this computer online. This is a used one from Suncoast Cycles. It ended up being the wrong one. I did my research, and apparently Polaris puts like the same part number on all this style computers, but the CD-ROM and the program's different. So the only way I could get the right one is I had to call S&S Tuning, talk to the guys there. This computer is a special split ear unit that only works for the blue O2 sensor, and there is a national back order on the computer, so the only way I could really get it is if I bought a professionally programmed one. So this one's been tuned by SNX or SX side-by-side tuning online. It's supposed to add 25 wheel horsepower. Plug the computer in, turn the key on, no codes, everything works, and we're gonna start this thing up. I already did start it up, I'm not gonna lie. I had too much nerves and anxiety. I had to get it over with. And it starts and it runs and it sounds good. So we're gonna go through. Shout out to these guys too, man. I put the order in on Wednesday, paid for the 2-day shipping, and it showed up the next day on Thursday. Plugged it in, everything worked flawless. Shout out to SNX Tuning right there. Those guys are some good guys. If you need tuning work or computers, hit them up. So here we go, guys, without further ado. Man, I'm happy. I was still a little stressed because when I put the old computer in and I turned it on, I still had a ton of codes, chassis codes, check engine lights. But this one, oh, there goes the shocks. All the shocks seem to be working. And yeah, buddy. Woo! Man, that made me so happy. No codes in the computer. Went and bought a light bar on Amazon. Also some color whips and the underglow. I'll show you guys some of that later. Yeah, buddy. Man, I'm so happy. Man, I'm so happy, guys. I cannot tell you. This thing sounds pretty healthy. So happy. The only with I can't test drive it yet. I'm gonna flush the engine a couple more times just for good measure. The clutches that were on there had to come off. They were both blown out. I ordered a brand new set of primary and secondary. Those are gonna be here. This is actually, I tried this one. It's off a 21 Turbo S, but that ended up being the wrong one. So this one's for sale if you're in Arizona and you're looking for basically a brand new clutch for $400. I'm gonna sell that. But basically, this is an old, like I said, I think the guy had some really good clutches on there. He must have took the good stuff and threw these old clapped out ones on. This thing's just rattling. You can see where the water has rusted the rollers, and I don't even think these are out of the right years. And the secondary is actually, this thing's blown out too, you can see. And also this is missing some kind of like axle hub thing with splines, so I can't even bolt the secondary on. So once those show up here tomorrow, we're gonna actually do a test drive on this thing. We got our belts, we got the fluids, and we even added a little bit of goodies onto this thing. So and then I'll show you what I'm doing on the blue fender, or that gray fender I picked up from AZ Cycle. I was at Walmart and I actually found this color and it matched really good. This is called Sail Blue, and it actually is pretty dang close to the blue that's on there. Close enough. So I'm just gonna paint that gray one for now while I'm waiting to find the actual color. It's actually looking pretty good, so I'm just gonna paint that, and then we'll go ahead and probably do an update video when we get this thing test drove, and fingers crossed that this thing's still gonna make it. And it's looking pretty good, man. I am thrilled. So far, definitely happy with the purchase. I cannot wait to get this thing out and play around. Hopefully I can have this thing ready for Christmas and do some of the cool RZR Christmas parades out here in the neighborhood. Also, get this thing out in the desert and have some fun. So let's give you guys an update when we get all the clutches on and this thing's actually driving.